Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Box Office Talk. This is the show where I break down what happened at the box office, see if my predictions for the top 5 are correct, then make predictions for next week's top 5s. Let's get right on into it. Last week I predicted that number 1 would be Snow White, number 2 would be A Working Man, number 3 would be Death of a Unicorn, number 4 would be The Woman in the Yard, and number 5 would be Black Bag. And I got a big ol' goose egg this weekend. Something I thought would get close to number 1 ended up getting number 1. A couple movies dropped off pretty drastically. And of course, we got a surprise visit from the one, the only, The Chosen. So let's just dive into what happened in the overall top 10. Nobody could have predicted this. Number 1 was actually A Working Man. I was kind of going off of what The Beekeeper did last year, because The Beekeeper went on to be a pretty big hit, in case you forgot. But it opened pretty modest, like about 16 million. So I was kind of thinking, okay, I think with Snow White, it opens to a little over 40, about a 50% drop average would be like in the 20s, so I think Working Man will get number 2. No, making 15 million, it was able to claim a victory this weekend, and obviously as I've stated, you can tell this is 1 million below the opening weekend of The Beekeeper. It needs 51 million until it gets to that point, and then worldwide it's sitting at a total of 30 million already. Not only is that almost to the 40 million initial production budget, same shit as The Beekeeper, by the way, but it also needs 122 million until that movie. I figure, I could compare Jason Statham movies, I could compare David Ayer films, but why not just do the one that they did literally last year together? It's kind of interesting. I'm listing these comparisons. They kind of opened around the same amount of money, and they also have the same budget, same, actor and director. So it's like, do these guys have like some kind of like arrangement? You know what I mean? Like, or next year, are we going to see another action film with those two working together again? Like, we got The Beekeeper, we got A Working Man. What's next? The fucking plumber or some shit like that. You know what I mean? Are they gonna? I mean, because I saw that Jason Statham had, or someone on Jason Statham's PR team or whatever, created that LinkedIn thing where they were like, I'm a beekeeper, I'm a working man, I'm a transporter, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. So are they just going to keep capitalizing on that or something? From what I've heard, some people have had fun with it. I haven't seen it yet. I was busy at a con, Galaxy Con this weekend, so I was only able to see Death of a Unicorn and Woman in the Yard. Haven't seen Working Man yet. But from what I've heard, at least, it seems like there's some fun to be had with it, kind of like The Beekeeper, even if I thought that was still a pretty goofy movie. So I don't know, maybe there is something there for them. We'll see how this continues to pan out. Obviously, we got the Minecraft movie coming out next weekend, but, this one has its own kind of audience, you know what I mean? So I feel like, they may cross over just a little bit, but I think this movie could still be fine. Number 2, Snow White, probably won't be. I really do hate to say it. The same things I was saying last weekend still apply, kind of mixed emotions about this one not doing well. And I was theorizing maybe, it's the last weekend before big family event Minecraft. Maybe it'll have one more weekend to kind of catch on. Maybe some other word of mouth will spread. Because if you look at the difference between like the Rotten Tomatoes audience score versus the IMDb review, obviously review bombed one, which is like the, 1 point whatever, lowest of all time. Like, I don't know why people still do that, because it's like, obviously people could see that and they just have to ask, why is that? And then they can like just look up like Snow White controversy, Snow White whatever, and they'll find out like, oh, there's a lot of, okay, it's for something else other than the movie. Like, people can still complain about the movie, but a lot of this is fueled by something else. Whatever, doesn't matter. It dropped off about over 60%, 66%. So yeah, it did not hold over well, and it lost its kind of foothold. Man, families are just waiting for Minecraft, I guess. Made 14 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of 66 million. As far as Disney remakes go, it is still domestically 10 million away from Pete's Dragon. Worldwide, it adds to a total of 143 million, so it did outgross Pete's Dragon there by just 6 million. The next one, as far as I can tell, it needs to outgross is Cruella. It needs 82 million to get there. And then for Mark Webb, it's still behind The Amazing Spider-Man 2, losing momentum for those ones. With Cruella, there might be a little bit of a chance. With the Spider-Man ones, it's losing momentum. Domestically, it needs 137 million until the second one, and then it needs 566 million until the second one worldwide. Look, the thing about it is, you know what I mean, people are going to complain about this movie, and, I definitely have my thoughts on this movie. I certainly didn't, love it. You know what I mean? They're going to have complaints though based off of the film they saw, because they went in with an open mind and they're just approaching it as a movie. But it's never going to end with some of these things. A lot of these culture war right-wing-esque kind of grifters complaining about just the wrong things that just don't make any fucking sense, that they just like are making up or exaggerate, things that don't apply to the movie. And it's annoying to deal with, whatever, because the flop aspect of this doesn't help. It also doesn't help that it seems like Disney, maybe Mark Platt, producer as well, is like putting out like these articles via Variety or whatever, trying to like put the blame on Rachel Zegler only. And it's like, man, that's incredibly annoying, because honestly, I don't know how many people offline, the people who aren't chronically online, actually knew about any controversy until, it had its disappointing weekend. And then all of a sudden you have, this article in Variety. I don't know if any other like entertainment TV news cable stuff have like done any reports. I'm sure Fox News has gone fucking wild with it, you know what I mean? So now people do know more about it, and they're like, oh, I guess I don't need to see it, you know what I mean? Whatever. It doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, ultimately this is a movie that Disney put too much money into. That's another pretty bad remake. Oh man, is it the worst one though? Duh, obviously not. But whatever. Anyways, number 3 is The Chosen Last Supper Part 1. I told you they'd sneak up in here. Apparently this opening weekend is the highest ever. I thought there were more of these events, but apparently the opening weekend of 11.4 is 3 million over their previous highest one, which would be season 3, episode 1 and 2, the other Fathom event there. I tried to look it up, and the Google AI overview, so take this with a grain of salt, obviously, said that the episode budgets were around like 1 million per each one. I don't know how many episodes Last Supper Part 1 is, but so maybe that's their budget. In this case, yeah, of course they keep putting these episodes in theaters, have a great return like that. Domestically, it's 4 million over. God, these titles. 4 million over season 4, episodes 7 through 8, and 2 million over season 4, episodes 4 through 6. It's sitting behind Christmas with The Chosen by 2 million. And then once it outgrosses that, it'll be in the top 3. But Last Supper Part 2 comes out next weekend. So does this one have a chance? I mean, I don't know. When does the theatrical run? I don't give a shit, actually. And let's move on to number 4, which is The Woman in the Yard, making 9.4 million. No worldwide total to bump this up yet, but the production budget is only 12 million. So I think at the end of the day, this will get by. It'll be a bit of a modest success for Blumhouse. For director Wame Colette-Serra, though, it's actually a bit of a downer. The opening weekend was 2 million below Run All Night, one of his previous films, and the reason why that is significant is because that was previously his lowest opening movie. But now, this one being 2 million below is now the newest lowest opening weekend for Wame Colette-Serra. It also domestically is behind all the other ones. It needs 17 million at least to get to Run All Night. But currently it's looking like it'll be his lowest grossing film thus far. I don't have any worldwide totals, so I didn't have any worldwide stats to pair it up with. But yeah, not a great start, not great news, even if it is a Blumhouse movie with a lower budget, where it's like, yeah, it's probably going to be fine at the end of the day financially. But for Wame, it's like, man, just came off of doing these big paycheck movies, Jungle Cruise and Black Adam. Recently did a Netflix movie, Carry On, which is actually pretty entertaining. That's a pretty good one with Taron Egerton. That's one that I was like, man, this should be in the theater. This could be really good on the big screen. And this one I thought was pretty good. This is a pretty good movie too. But I guess I was kind of predicting Death of a Unicorn over this one, only because the marketing did kind of seem like it just kind of started out of nowhere, and I didn't know how many people really knew about it, because it didn't seem very present, despite the fact that there have been trailers in front of other movies. So yeah. Anyways, number 5 was Death of a Unicorn, though, which I thought would get a bit more buzz just because of the Unicorn, A24, Jenna Ortega, Paul Rudd angle of it, but apparently not. Made 5.7 million this weekend. No worldwide totals to pump it up, but this one is on a budget of 15 million. So the cinema score was a B-. So look, for cinema score, that's pretty bad, but it could be worse. It needs about 30, for our show's standards of the doubling point of the initial production budget, it needs about 30 million to be considered a success. Maybe if it gets released in other places worldwide, they can help bump that up. If domestically it's able to hold over well, I don't know though. It's weird because I feel like this one, I like this one a lot too. And I'm kind of surprised by kind of like the middling responses to it. I feel like some of it I can kind of understand. There's kind of like this tired kind of attitude towards like this eat the rich kind of movie, which this one definitely has themes of. I think I just didn't mind because I fucking loved the unicorn Jurassic Park kind of angle of this. And there's just, I loved everyone in their roles. I thought it was a really fun horror movie. So maybe this one could catch on. I don't think it will. It could, continue to live on, though, outside of this. Anyways, number 6 is Princess Mononoke, which got re-released, made 4 million, adding to a domestic total of 14 million. Worldwide adds to a total of 210. So, I mean, not much to say here. It's a re-release. I think everyone's ecstatic to see that not just an anime film, but, Hayao Miyazaki film came out a couple years ago. A re-release is still able to make a decent amount of change, compared to some other re-releases and almost crack the top 5 even. That's pretty cool. Number 7 is Captain America Brave New World, making 2.8 million, adding to a domestic total of 196 million. It's still behind Thor the Dark World, though, by $10 million. Worldwide, it is sitting at 405 million, so it's outgrossed Eternals by 4 million, heyo, but it needs 27 million until it outgrosses Shang-Chi. It has lost a lot of momentum, though. It might get very close to Shang-Chi, but it might just also dip out but completely before we even see that. But hey, it was able to outgross most of the COVID MCU films. Spider-Man No Way Home, obviously, you can't really get to that. And Shang-Chi, as we're seeing here, it's right behind that. So, but it was able to get past Black Widow and Eternals, and was there another one? That might have been it. Anyways, yeah, look, they just announced all those castmates, and Anthony Mackie's one of those chairs. So, he's all good. You know what I mean? And nothing else to add to that. Number 8 is Black Bag, making 2.1 million, adding to a domestic total of 18 million. Worldwide, it is sitting at 31 million also. So, look, we're still way behind the 50 million initial production budget. There's no chance of doubling it. And last weekend, we talked about how, despite the fact that it dropped off numbers-wise, it was a solid hold, and it was able to move up a slot from number 3 to number 2. So now to see it kind of drop off to number 8 was pretty disheartening as well. Thanks, The Chosen. It really is The Chosen's fault, fucking ruining everything. For Steven Soderbergh, domestically, it did outgross Haywire by just a couple 100,000. It is behind Sex, Lies, and Videotapes by 6 million. So it's domestically the 14th highest grossing film for him currently. And when I read that stat, I was like, I don't need to count for the worldwide ones. I'm sure they're about the same, because worldwide it outgrossed Che by just a couple 100,000, but now it needs 5 million until Haywire and Sex, Lies, and Videotape. So I'm thinking about the same. Once again, like, this is, I feel like, we've talked about it. I don't need to be a broken record, but, it checks a lot of boxes as far as like what people, claim to be looking for, as far as like what they want in their movies, what will make them go to the theater, what they want to see more of in the industry. And just another one slipping by the wayside. I'll wait till it's streaming. It didn't interest me from the marketing, so I won't listen to anyone else. Okay, sure, go ahead, man. That's pretty cool. Number 9 is Mickey 17, making 1.9 million, adding to a domestic total of 43 million. So for Bong Joon-ho, it is behind Parasite now by 10 million. It's not going to get there, but hey, it's his second highest grossing film domestically, and that's cool. Worldwide, it is sitting at 121 million, so much steeper comparison to Parasite, 132 million here. But hey, it crossed over the initial production budget of allegedly 118 million by $3 million. So Warner's is still going to lose money on distributing this, but not as much as they were previously, I guess. Bong got to make his movie. That's the only takeaway that really matters. And finally, closing out the video, number 10, Novocaine. Another one kind of like Black Bag, where it's like, it seems like it's checking off a lot of boxes for what people are clamoring for, and it's got a low enough budget where you would think, timed correctly with its release and some proper word of mouth, which this movie did get solid reviews, that it could potentially take off, and it started off strong and then kind of dipped very drastically. Very, very sad, very disappointing. It made 1.4 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of 18 million worldwide, only sitting at 27 million. So about 9 million off from actually doubling its 18 million initial production budget. Man, and Hard Eyes is not here anymore, but same budget, and it got so close. It exited the top 10 around like 32 million or so. It was like, man, so close to getting there. I don't give a shit about Love Hurts, so I'm not mentioning it, but still, it's like both of these movies matter more, and people really liked and respected those other two, and just, yeah, word of mouth didn't catch on for those. I don't know. I guess they just weren't theater worthy, even if word of mouth was good. When people were saying maybe you shouldn't go see Captain America, people were like, yeah, but that's the big one, though. I don't want to see these other two. I guess that's more theater worthy, I guess, whatever. Anyways, now it's time for the fun part, the predictions for next week's top 5. Before I go any further, though, I do want to give a bit of an update. I mentioned I was at a con this weekend. I came back last night, though, so that's why I'm doing this, and I didn't give you a warning last weekend. I am going to give you a warning, though, for as far as next week's video for Box Office Talk. I will be in New York City. I am traveling back on Sunday. So I'm gonna try my best. I'm hoping that I will get home in time to, yeah, and feel good enough to record a video and get the stats written and all that before the week starts. But if there is a delay, this is why. Just letting you know beforehand. And it's also why I wasn't able to put out any reviews this past week, in combination with a work schedule, and also just me, getting ready to go to this con, and it'll probably happen again with this upcoming trip too. So just letting you know that's what's going on. Hopefully we can get back to the kind of pattern we've been in, where I've been able to at least get one video out per week, because that's been working out pretty well, and I'd hate to fall back into an old habit of not reviewing anything and just giving you box office videos. Anyways, the new predictions are, number 1, I think will be a Minecraft movie, obviously. Number 2, The Chosen Last Supper Part 2. Part 2, baby. Number 3, I do think will be A Working Man. Number 4, Snow White. And number 5, The Woman in the Yard. I think since A Working Man it has to have a bit of a drop-off, since it will be the second weekend. Last Supper Part 2 is technically the new one, so I do think, it'll come back around and potentially make more this time. Anyways, what are your predictions for next week's top 5? Leave them in the comments below. And as always, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm Jackson Fulcher. See you guys next time.